everybody. Dan Illman, Mike Beer. Let's kick off a 50-cent pick four at Keeneland on Saturday with grade one stakes action. Here's the field, and a very competitive field for the First Lady Stakes. It's a grade one for fillies and mares going a mile on the turf. $400,000 is the purse. And I guess you have the top middle distance filly and mare turf horse in the country in the 3 Altique. She's only raced twice in North America this year, but who could ask for anything more? A win in the Just a Game, a win in the Diana.
Yeah, I guess I agree with that too, Dan. I mean, I guess she is the leader of this division right now. 2 really nice wins in her only 2 stateside appearances. You know, they're both grade ones. She beat the same horse both times. Her stablemate, Summer Romance, who was on the lead in those 2 races. Altica ran her down both times. She's obviously good. We'll see what kind of price she is. I don't know that she has a huge edge over this field, but maybe she does.
Let's throw up the Timeform US pace projector. Timeform US believes that Blowout might be able to get to the lead, and I won't be surprised at all if that's the case. Blowout's best race earlier this year at Churchill Downs came when she just ran out to a lonely lead. No one went with her, and she held on. But this pace could get fast if the 11 Delica wakes up on the wrong side of the stall and decides she wants to start pulling again.
Yeah, that's true. We'll see. I do think Blowout is going to go to the lead in here. I'm not going to argue that point. I do think there's also a chance, though, that maybe she doesn't get loose this time.
Abscond is the number 1 going out for trainer Eddie Keneally. She is a really honest filly. I'm a huge fan of hers. I liked her in the Nassau 2 starts back. She came with a run. She just couldn't get to Jolie Olympica. I liked her in the ladies' turf last time out. She stayed on okay behind Princess Grace and Dalika. She's really honest. As you see by the pace projector, she has tactical speed. I'm just not sure she's a grade 1 filly, even though she won the Natalma at 2.
Yeah, I sort of agree with you. Her last couple of races actually are both pretty good. Even her Distaff Turf Mile, when she was, close to Blowout at the end, wasn't a bad performance, Dan. She's got something to prove, I guess, in this kind of a race at the top level of this division. It's interesting because the only time they really tried her in that grade 1 since she won as a 2-year-old is in the Just a Game at Belmont. When you go back and watch that race, I mean, I looked at it and was just like, why did they even enter? It felt like they didn't even try to win that race with her.
It was a very strange ride. I actually gave her a long shot chance in that race because I thought maybe they'd make the lead with her. And the next thing you know, she was rated back to last and really didn't have much run. Empress Josephine is your horse lacking pace data. Why? She's a foreign invader making her first start in North America for trainer Aidan O'Brien. And she won the prestigious Irish 1,000 guineas earlier this year at this distance. Now, she's faced older fillies and mares twice. One in the Nassau Stakes. I'll throw that race out. 1.25 miles too far for her. Last time out in the Matron, it was kind of an even 4th, and I thought she was 4th best.
Yeah, she probably was. I didn't think she ran poorly last time. I don't know if it's the kind of race that, I would want to bet her back out of, but I thought she ran fine in that race. That was a good field. She stayed on pretty well to the end, I thought. Her 1,000 guineas win earlier in the year, she was pretty good in that race, Dan. Very game to just get up on the wire there. I liked that performance from her. I do think there's some upside here.
Let's watch Altica's win in the Diana, making it 2 for 2 in North America and 3 wins from her last 4 starts. She got a very nice trip and ride from Manny Franco, was able to save some ground despite breaking from the far outside post. The pace was solid, got to the outside, and she just seems to have Summer Romance's number, doesn't she?
She does. A good finish, though. You could see her really accelerate there, the final 1/8 of a mile to overtake that pace setter. She wins it pretty handily at the end. This is a good performance. I felt like maybe there were just some horses behind her that day, Dan, that didn't show up with their best performances. I don't know what that says about Altica, though. Her 2 races since she got over, they're both good.
Stepping up in class is the 4 Star Command for the great Shug McGahee. This one's won 3 out of her last 4 and just has the look of a typical McGahee trained horse, getting better with maturity and maybe a little bit more distance. She won at 7 in this race at Kentucky Downs last time out at 2 other than. She was odds on dropping out of the De La Rose. She worked this trip out, Mike, where she was in behind horses. She gets to the outside. She grinds them down. This distance might have been a little short for her.
It might have been. This is an okay performance against some weaker competition. But I like the way that you put it when you were introducing her, Dan. She's a typical McGahee Phipps production here. She is getting better with every start. She's obviously much improved from 3 to 4.
Coming up next is one of Mike's favorite horses in training, the 5 Hendy Woods. Very underrated for trainer Mark Casse. Let's go back to her last race. It was the One Dreamer. Casse found a great spot for her at Kentucky Downs in this restricted race, coming off the heels of a close second behind Regal Glory in the De La Rose. And as you see, she's traveling very comfortably, turning into the long straight. And once she makes the front, it is all over.
Yeah, I mean, she dominated this field, but it was also, as you said, a great spot that they found for her. She ran well in the De La Rose. That was a good performance. Although Regal Glory, it felt like was probably a lot better than she was that day. But listen, they found the right spot for her here. She took another step forward, winning a race over Sweet Melania and Alta's Award, Dan. That's not the same thing as it is against Face in a field like this.
And as for Regal Glory, she's won 3 of her last 4. Let's watch her victory over Hendy Woods in the De La Rose at Saratoga. You see her on the far outside, and what's notable about this race is there was not a lot of pace up front. Hendy Woods, who's sitting in second right now, gets the jump on Regal Glory, turning into the stretch. For a brief instant, it looked like Regal Glory was in trouble, but just look at her motor home. She kicks home like a car.
Yeah, you can't come home faster than this. The pace was slow. She still had work to do at the top of the stretch. She flew the last eighth of a mile there, final quarter, 22 and change. Really impressive performance, Dan. As you mentioned, 3 of her last 4 wins. I would say, go back and watch the Just a Game too. I'm not suggesting she was going to win that race. She got very unlucky there, bumped at the start to wind up last.
Daddy is a Legend loves Keeneland. 3 for 5 over this turf course. She is 2 for 15 everywhere else. And we talk about it all the time. She's been very unlucky in several races that she probably could have won. Now, at the age of 6, I wonder if she's getting a little bit long in the tooth, but she was in a very tough 4-star Dave last time out. The Just a Game was a pretty good race to be third behind Altica. George Weaver's done a very nice job with her.
He really has. I like that she's, that they brought her back at 6 so she can still sort of perform at the top level, Dan. Her last 2 performances are fine. I don't think they're going to get it done in this race, especially when you go back to that Just a Game, because she got a great trip in there and actually came clear ahead of Altica in the stretch there. Had a real shot at that race, and she just wasn't good enough.
Harvey's Little Goyle enjoyed Keeneland last year. She won the Queen Elizabeth II Cup against fellow 3-year-old fillies, and then she came back with a giant effort, beaten only a neck in the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Turf. I was very excited to see what we were going to get from her 4-year-old campaign. She won the Beaugay in workmanlike fashion, and since then I think you can question her form. In the Diana, the race we saw with Althika, though, she was in a 3-wide trip all the way around the track, never got cover, and she finished decent. And then in the personal ensign, listen, she's in against Latruska and she actually tried to win the race.
Yeah, I get what they were doing last time by going back to the main track. She has main track form, so it made sense for them to try that with her. It didn't work out. They're back to turf now. I'm with you on her Diana, Dan. I don't think she had a terrible trip, but she was outside the entire way. Listen, it's not like Altica saved a ton of ground either, but she saved more ground than this horse did. And I don't think she ran as poorly as it looked. She's a real dangerous horse in here.
Blowout earlier in her career was always the bridesmaid. Second by a nose, second by a neck, second by a neck, second by 3/4. And then she got the win in the Distaff Turf Mile when Flavian Pratt said, listen, we're just going to go. And no one went with her. And she opened up 8 and she held on. They ran her in the 4-star Dave. That pace was a lot faster.
It was. I mean, she actually ran fine in there to only beaten a couple of lengths. Then she's a real nice horse. I can't say that I've always been her biggest fan. But she's good, and I think they are going to put her right on the lead again on Saturday and see what happens. She's a real threat to wire this field, I think.
And remember, she missed time after that Distaff Turf Mile with an issue. She might have been a little short in that race. She has never been off the board against fellow fillies and mares. Princess Grace, what can you say? All this Caracanti filly does is win. Let's watch the ladies' turf at Kentucky Downs last time out. She has now won 6 of 7 starts. Her only loss came when she finished second. The trip certainly worked out here. Look at the split she gets at the quarter pole. She didn't break very well, but she got herself gradually into the race, Mike, and she finishes it off to defeat Delica and Abscond. Now she gets to step up in class into a grade 1, but she's already won 4 graded stakes this year.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this is a nice little test for her, though. I think they are stepping her up into probably the toughest race of her career now to see where she fits, and she deserves the chance. All she does is show up and run good races, as you mentioned. And there she did ultimately get a really nice trip, but she did break slowly from the gate and was last early. I thought it was another nice performance for a filly who keeps improving.
Doesn't matter whether it's 5.5 furlongs or 1 3/8 miles on firm turf or soft, Delika seems to show up more often than not. She is a very temperamental filly at times. She will pull and go to the lead. It was nice in that ladies' turf we just saw where Princess Grace won that she was able to relax a little bit. Maybe cutting back from the 1.5 miles to the mile did something there, and she finished it up. I look at her starts at Keeneland, however. She was fourth in the First Lady last year. It was an okay performance, but I wonder if maybe this is not her favorite turf course.
Yeah, I guess that could be something to that. We'll see. She's another one who I think, maybe deserves the chance in here. I liked them cutting her back last time. And I'm with you. I like the fact that she seemed a little bit more settled in that race. I think it's also worth pointing out, Dan, that, while Princess Grace just sat along the inside and saved all the ground, this filly was very wide all the way around the turn in there, and was still staying on at the end. I think she ran an underrated race last time.
La Signare is very, very honest, the number 12. But as a few of these, like the Abscons, I'm just not sure if she's a true grade one. And she came close in Southern California in the Gamely. She ran okay when third behind Althika. She sat the pocket. She got in a little traffic, and then she couldn't finish with Althika. And last time out in the Flower Bowl, they tried something new. I don't blame them. They tried to stretch her out, and that's the only way they were going to beat Warlike Goddess, by trying to bottom out the field. It didn't work out.
Exactly. They took their best shot in there on the stretch out, put her back on the lead, which is a running style that she had success with earlier in her career. They tried it again in the Flower Bowl. It didn't work out. They'll cut her back for this. I mean, she's a fine horse, and I'm sure she's going to show up and give a good account of herself, Dan, but I don't like betting her in races like this.
This is a lousy post position for the 13 Viadera, but I can't argue with anyone who says that 8-1 is a great price on this mare. Winner of the Matriarch in impressive fashion in her final start as a 4-year-old. It took her a long time to get back to the races. The De La Rose was a race where she did not have a good trip, and then she got back to the winner's circle with this race, the Ballston Spa, last time out, where Joel Rosario kept her relatively close, got Viadera to the outside, and she has to work in this race to win it, but she does get up, and the fourth place finisher would come back to win by open lengths in the Violet at Monmouth with a 105 buyer. I think she's racing herself back into shape for Chad.
Yeah, I do too. I think she's a player in this race as well, if she can get a trip from post 13, Dan. I like this performance for her. I know it's only by a nose, but she was holding on there to the end, after keeping closer to the pace than she usually does. And you're right about her De La Rose. She had a pretty tough trip that day.
Top pick time for the grade one First Lady. We can go so many different ways. I think you might be onto something. I think I made a mistake in not rating Regal Glory higher, because we saw her fly home to win that race last time out at Saratoga. You give her pace, she's going to kick.
Yeah, we'll see if the race sets up for her. I don't think she needs to be that far away, Dan. We'll see if she gets the right trip in this race, though. I've always felt like she was a little underrated, and I'm glad Chad's given her a chance to run in some of these bigger races this year.
Harvey's little Goyle likes Keeneland. She has tactical speed, and I'm hoping she's not off form. I think the dirt race can be forgiven. I think the wide trip 2 starts back is a little bit better than it looks on paper. I want to give her one more chance. I know on her best day she can run with these horses. 8-3-2-9 for me, 6-3-8-5 for Mike. It's the grade one First Lady on a really, really hot card at Keeneland on Saturday. Good luck.